Hi, my name is Dr Anita Raja. I am a Birmingham-based NHS GP, and today I'm going to talk with you about mental health. So, I was diagnosed with postnatal depression in 2013 when I was still in my 20s and a young mom to my first son. Now, around that time, I had absolutely no clue that I was struggling with my mental health. Yes, I was a bit low, but I thought it's maybe just hormonal. Luckily, on my 6-week postnatal check, my GP diagnosed me with postnatal depression, and I was offered treatment quite early on, which meant early intervention. I really felt low and worthless around that time, and it's ironic because you'd imagine I'm a doctor, I'm qualified, and surely I could diagnose myself, but sometimes it takes so much more of an effort to diagnose yourself, because being a patient is a reversal of a doctor's role, and certainly at that point you wouldn't imagine that you'd be suffering with a condition that you have actually read about and simply can't relate to. Now, when I got my diagnosis of postnatal depression, I feel that my family was a bit shocked as well. And I felt so much pressure because certainly I felt that, number one, I'd let them down. I was a failure of a mom, I was a failure of a sister, I was a failure of a wife, I was a failure of a daughter. And I just felt that, everyone has put in such an effort into me becoming a doctor. I mean, it was, my parents, my husband, because I has met my husband in med school, so he'd always been so supportive. And now all of a sudden, when it's my time to be that perfect mom that I always wished to become, I have postnatal depression. I felt like I was being very ungrateful. Being grateful is a vital part of our upbringing and our culture. If you are a South Asian, you would be able to relate to this, and we're always reminded to be grateful for what we've got. And I just felt immensely ungrateful, and of course that pressure kept mounting on me because I felt like I am being ungrateful. I felt like I'm just, I was comparing myself to people who've got nothing, then why I've got everything, and then why am I just feeling so depressed? But I was just so organically depressed. There was absolutely nothing that would perk my mood. I'd given birth to this beautiful baby boy, and I just failed to feel grateful, failed to enjoy my baby. And I was just so lucky at that time that I had such a huge support network around me. I had my mom, who was quite young around that time. She was in her late 40s. I had my husband, who was hands-on dad, really supportive. I had a good set of friends, great colleagues, but I simply felt so low. I felt as if I was in this dark tunnel all by myself, and I just simply couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel. I felt as if I'm stuck in this rut. And it's very difficult for us South Asians to accept that we're depressed, because in our culture, depression is unfortunately still associated to illnesses like psychosis, and if someone is depressed, it's assumed that they may well be mad. And there's a lack of appreciation of the fact that people can have a blip in their lives, they can suffer with their mental health, and sometimes life can become so overwhelming that you may need a little bit of help. And if you start taking your medications, then that's just the last nail in the coffin, because you're being medicated for a mental health issue. So I just found accepting the whole thing enormously difficult. And I have no shame in accepting this, because it took me a fair few months to accept the fact that I was so ill and that I needed the medications. But I'm so grateful that I had a very supportive husband at that point who actually pushed me to start taking the medications, because our relationship had been adversely affected. My relationship with anyone and everyone around me was affected. And my main symptoms were low mood, being really tearful, lack of concentration, and I also suffered from temper issues. So I'd lose my calm over the slightest thing, and I just felt like I was drowning. I mean, I just just felt that there was no oxygen around me. It was really, really difficult, and I guess one of the most difficult patches and parts of my life. I started feeling better after 2 years of taking my medication, and I came off my medication. But ironically, in 2017, I had a late miscarriage in my second trimester, and I had to carry a dead baby in my womb for 4 days before I gave birth. And I think that was the most difficult part again, and that is when I had another bout of major depression. I was a GP trainee around that time, and I had an extremely supportive network around me. I had excellent colleagues. My supervisor was excellent, and I took a couple of weeks off from work, and I sort of tried to think about the positives. I had my son at that time, but at that point I just felt that I still needed some medication, and I was put onto medication again in 2017. I had to stay on the medications for 6 months, and then I was able to get off the medications. But my message to anyone who's listening out there is that mental health is real, and if you know anyone around you who's suffering with their mental health, please make time and give them a ring and check on them, because it's just something that they may well need. It's very important that we are kind to people who suffer with their mental health, because suffering from your mental health cannot be diagnosed on a scan or an x-ray, but it does exist and it can be life-changing. I'm looking forward to speaking to all of you in person very soon. Stay tuned. Thank you. Bye.
Simple coaching questions that will help you hopefully make some progress in thinking about how you might want to move forwards with those, some of the options you might have, and then where you can start and how you can build.